Hi, this is Christy from birdmentor.com, where I teach advanced skills to beginning birders, and thanks for joining me today. So the winter is really one of the best times to start learning about birds. For example, there are fewer leaves around right now, so those little birds like the kinglets, who usually move really fast and kind of hide in the cover of the leaves during like the spring and summer, they're a lot easier to spot right now because they don't have the cover of the leaves to hide away. Also, there are just fewer species around, so all of those species that were around in the summer and springtime, they aren't here right now, and only a handful of those who actually are here sing right now. So if you're learning birds by sound, it makes it a lot easier. But there is one aspect of the winter season that makes this time of year extremely challenging, and that's plumage, which is the coat of feathers that the birds wear. It's important to remember that most, but not all birds, are donning or wearing their winter plumage right now. So what this means is that most of the birds who were gorgeous and bold and striking just a couple months ago are fairly drab at the moment. So what we're left with are males who look like females right now. While we're on the topic of females, I want to take just a moment to highlight an element of birding that I think needs a little attention. A couple of months ago, I was leading a bird walk for a lovely group of women from Texas, and one of the women was carrying one of those pocket field guides to Western birds that her husband had let her borrow. You know the ones I'm talking about? They're kind of like in an accordion shape, and they're laminated, and they have ducks or birds on both sides. Well, it just so happened that we were looking at a flock of ducks, and the woman called me over and she says, "Christy, I can't seem to find this duck in my," I'm doing a terrible Texas accent, that's more like a southern accent. "I can't seem to find this duck in my field guide. You said it was a ring-necked duck, but I can't find it anywhere." So I walked over and I took a look over her shoulder, and I actually grabbed the, the field guide from her for a moment, and I flipped it back and forth a couple times and was looking, and she was right. That duck was nowhere to be found. So I just started laughing, and one of the women finally asked me, she said, "What are you laughing about? What's so funny?" And I said, "Well, ladies, looks like what you got here is a sexist field guide." And they looked at me and they said, "What are you talking about? What do you mean?" And I said, "There is not a single female bird on this entire guide. They are all just male birds." And so it really struck me that no wonder why so many people struggle to learn about birds when they're first starting out, when they have things like that, where their guide is only showing them, or it's only effective if you're looking at birds in one season and only one sex. This was a funny moment, but I came to realize how pervasive and frankly unhelpful our focus on the sexy males can be. A few weeks ago, a woman contacted me because she had seen 2 eared grebes on the river, and she wanted to tell the woman in charge of our Christmas bird count about her sighting. And it just so happened that about 2 or 3 days after that, I was walking on that same stretch of river, and I got the opportunity to observe these 2 female hooded mergansers. And I was watching them preen themselves for, I don't know, several minutes. And then I continued on down the trail after I watched them for a while, and I happened to bump into the same woman, the one who had called me, and she said, "Christy, did you see the eared grebes down the river?" And I said, "Eared grebes?" And she said, "Yeah." She's like, "Well, do you think there's something else?" She goes, I watched them for quite a while and I saw that gold patch on top of their head." And I said, "Well, you know, I kind of thought that they were hooded mergansers." And she said, "Oh no, they can't be hooded mergansers. I watched an entire flock of hooded mergansers last week, and these 2 didn't have the black and white on top of their head." And I said, "Oh, no, I'm sorry. I meant the female hooded merganser." And she said, "The female? I hadn't even thought about the female." She goes, "You know, I'm gonna have to go back home and look at my field guide and I'll let you know." And about 20 minutes later, I got a text from her and she said, "Yep, for sure the female hooded merganser." Now, to her credit, in the right light, the crest of the hooded can look golden. But this is where a little bit more time in the field and knowing what else to look for can really come in handy. These little lady ducks that I had a chance to observe, as they were preening themselves, I noticed that their crest would kind of fan up and then go down, and then kind of fan up and go down. And that's just what I've seen hoodeds do in the past. And also their tail stuck up and out of the water instead of kind of laying more flat like other ducks do. Overall, one of the best things that you can do to improve your skills as a birder is to give a little more attention to the ladybirds of the world. That's probably just good advice for life in general. Until next week, please get out there and help spread some bird love in the world.